Hello friends, welcome back to my lockdown diaries. This is day T minus 4 day, 4 days more to go for our lockdown to get officially over. Today is April 29, 2020. As we have moved through these lockdown things, one thing has become very apparent that time is very malleable, in the sense that we give so much importance to what is the weekday today, what is the time today, what is the date today. But when you're cooped in for a long time, it ceases to matter, right? It doesn't matter which, it takes you a bit of a strain to remember which day of the week it is today. You kind of the dates are also a bit of a, you have to keep abreast of, okay, this is the month end, all the bills will come to pay and all that stuff. So these are time becomes kind of relative, as Einstein would say. Yeah, so it's that way. Yeah, today's day would be mixed ball again. I think most of the days today these days are mixed ball. Yeah, there were some interesting things. So as usual, I had to for my groceries and all that stuff. When I ventured out today, I decided to venture a little further out, because as I said, we were having some sort of stringent lockdown within our premises. But I thought today, because there were some important things which weren't available at the local grocery store, I thought I'll just I'll go a bit further out, a couple of kilometers outside, and it was a thing of discovery for me, because when I went there, I saw a lot of people, which was very surprising to me. It's been a long time since I've seen so many people. They were all outside towards the station. That's the Dombivli station. The vegetable stores, the grocery stores were all kind of open, and people were thronging to them, and it was a bit unnerving. I have one important disclaimer. I've been a Mumbaikar all my life, so crowds is something which I kind of I thrive on crowds, right? Crowds are something that you are accustomed to right from the moment that you're born, and be it the trains, be it the streets, be it anything. If you don't, in fact, on the contrary, if you don't see crowds, it kind of unnerves you. So I remember, so I'll give you an example. I used to have this thing, when way back when we were younger, there used to be all these buns which would be declared, right? Shiv Sena would call a bun, someone would call a Bharat Band and all that stuff. So you won't take it seriously. So if you step out of your house, go for work or for college or anything, you'd step out of your house. If there are people out there on the streets, you won't bother about it. Chalega, theek hai, ye koi important nahi hai, right? But if there are, if you'd find no one on the streets, you would know it's a big problem, because in Mumbai is synonymous with crowd. So so that is how it is. Just cut the long story short, crowds is something that I am pretty accustomed to. But it was a kind of a shocker to me as well when I saw so many people. It's been a long time since I saw these many people, and believe you me, I was a bit unnerved. I was a bit taken aback. I was like worried about, and I couldn't bring myself to move along stand in those long winding queues, and where the social distancing is not so fiercely implemented also. So what happens when the numbers of people are large, in a smaller batch of groups, people can influence each other in a positive manner, but when the numbers are large, it's pretty difficult. So it was a weird experience. I'm wondering what will happen when we step out finally. How will we react to each other? Man is a social animal, Aristotle would say, right? We are aggressive. We love to meet people. We love to talk to people. We love to gossip. We love close proximity as well. And we don't. We are very we are not touchy about our spaces, right? But now suddenly we are forced to be, and I wonder how it's gonna be. So So that was quite an experience today. I also think the problem is I asked one of the shops that I finally was able to bring myself to buy things from. I asked him the reason for these crowds. He said the government had the administration, forget the government, the local administration had strictly enforced that. They had enforced that lockdown very stringently, the new strictures that were there, you can't step out and purchase and all. So they had done that very stringently, but suddenly what had happened was after 2-3 days of this stringency, the people were seeming to lose their patience, and that's how we were seeing all these crowds. Suddenly he said this was only a matter of today only that we are seeing these crowds. And then he also spoke about how Ramzan is there, so people are shopping for for their fast and all these things. So yeah, that's how we have to take into account that if you're very stringent, if you tighten up at one end, it's gonna put pressure on the other end. So if it's very stringent in its application, when the relaxation comes, it will be very big and huge. So that is something that I guess I'm sure the guys in the administration must be thinking about. Even with the relaxation, you have to do it in a very phased down manner. Prior to the days, you have to, and we are already seeing that there has been talks going on. A lot of districts will be, the movement will be freer. The government has also introduced new measures where the migrants stuck in various states, the students and the migrants can now finally move. So I'm sure we are going to see some of these long distance trains which are going to come. I just hope there are no rumor mongers, and you have those crowds at Bandra that you saw that the other day, talking about spreading rumors to WhatsApp and all that. The WhatsApp thing is also, so the government has made all the admins of these groups liable. So I have seen quite a few of changes. Take for instance all the few groups that I am in, all the admins are very strict now, and you can't post on them. It's only the admins who will be posting messages and all. So we are seeing the government stringency there, which seems to be kind of working in terms of spreading false news and all. And so there is also I think talking about the government efforts, there was the Indian government's work was lauded by a very unlikely corner. So there was a story on CNN today, CNN.com, which was on the top news, which spoke about how a country of 1.3 billion and only 1,000 deaths, and they compared it. So the author compared it with all the number of cases that are there across the globe, and how India seems to be at this moment, as of now, seems to have beaten the epidemic, the worst part of the epidemic at least. And they were just analyzing a whole bunch of reasons. All of course with the disclaimer, as I keep saying, it could get very bad very fast. So they were also conscious, the author was also conscious of that, and she was speaking about various aspects. It could be they were like saying that one of the good things that happened in India was a stringent lockdown which were imposed on March 22nd, and the comparison was with China, which said while China had locked down a couple of cities, India had actually done a national lockdown which was unprecedented in that manner. And so all these efforts were finally paying off. They were able to control the number of people. Also there were some reasons which are being analyzed for the low fatality rate in India. Could it be because of the BCG vaccine? Could it be because of the warm temperature that the virus was not spreading as fast as it was spreading in other regions? So that was an interesting story to read. Finally I've read so many. So CNN I follow pretty regularly. I am a reader of that, and they have done a lot of good work. They might be critical of the government, but justfully so. There are a lot of lacunae in India's response. I would be the first one to admit that. But yes, at times my problem has been that finding the flaws and finding the negativities. It has got to do with finding the while there are negatives in India's approach, there are also a couple of positives which a lot of other countries can benefit from, right? The way, of course, the biggest one would be the lockdown, of course. So so that has not been appreciated in the manner it could have possibly been. So that has been a little grouse as a brown Indian brownie that you can call. We keep इतना तारीफ नहीं मिलता, बुराई सब हो जाती है. Yeah, so that was about it. And finally, the worst news of the day, of course, would be the death of Irfan Khan. I guess there's nothing much that I can add except the fact that I really admired his body of work. Not only that, he was while everyone kind of appreciates him for the amazing repertoire of films that he had. It's really, if you look at his filmography, it's quite impressive that that an actor of was able to be featured in also important films, not only in India but also abroad, right? Life of Pi, Slumdog Millionaire, Spider-Man, of course, Jurassic Park. So he was able to transition in Hollywood, the manner in which I think so only a few actors have been able to do. The few actors that have been able to do, say, Om Puri, or for that matter Naseeruddin Shah, they have not been very consistent and very popular. The manner in which Irfan Khan was, which was very interesting. His best, so according to me, his best work I personally find is Maqbool and Pan Singh Tomar. Just like I find Irfan Khan's acting equivalency to Manoj Bajpayee. They are both very character driven. You could place them into they're like aloo, right? You can cut and put them in any vegetables and they'll become a part of that thing. So even with Irfan Khan, he could be very sophisticated, the Armani wearing suit kind of a gentleman, and then he could be very rugged, the kind of rustic, rugged man, a dacoit from the Chambal Valley as well. So he had this amazing knack to be from one end of the spectrum to another. One of his best movies that I personally liked was Maqbool. And Maqbool, you have to admit that Maqbool was not only good because of Irfan Khan, but because of the amazing actors that were there, right? So you had Naseeruddin Shah, you had Om Puri there, you had Pankaj Kapoor, you had Tabu. I think it was one of the best casting film, which was very strong and very amazing, direction as well. So yeah, so Maqbool was great, Haider was great. My first experience of Irfan Khan, I remember, was back in 2002, 2003, if I'm not wrong. I was covering Mami. It was very initial days of Mami at that time, and I used to review a lot of movies at that time. So I chanced upon this movie called as The Warrior and Yodha, yeah, something like that. I saw that thing and I saw this lanky Irfan Khan out there trying to be a very brave. It was a very interesting thing about of a complex biography of a warrior who's trying to fight his way through all that stuff. I don't remember the story too well now, but yeah. So, but one thing I remember, I found it to be very stupid. I was personally not impressed because he didn't look like a warrior for me. While in the true sense, we are accustomed to more of those gladiator type of a thing when you talk about warrior. So he didn't, and personally his performance in the film wasn't too too much to write home about either. I'll give you another. So he had this. So he has what we call in Mumbai. He had this very Bewda eyes, right? Very drunken eyes, and he had this very stern look on him. So which kind of which would in normal circumstances put him very much stereotype him into certain kind of role would be available. The best thing about Irfan Khan was he was able to break through those stereotypes. He was able to do a whole spectrum of roles, and The best part about his acting was his timing. His comic timing was immaculate. He could utter the most singularly sarcastic lines with a deadpan look, and he could easily do that we had seen that in Maqbool, we had seen that in a lot of other films as well, where his timing was very precise, and he was able to carry off a lot of things. One of the films that I personally the last, while Angrezi Medium is his eponymous film, the last film as you call, which I don't think so does full justice to him, because there were a lot of other reasons. Yeah, he was working. He was not well at that moment. He was trying to just complete the film. One of the last films that I truly liked was Blackmail. I think that is a true classic film, very taut direction and very amazing acting by Irfan Khan. So it's kind of it's very sad and depressing when you lose someone like that, right? And in these and I you don't know what to say when you hear the fact that his mother died a couple of days ago. Do you feel good for the lady that she didn't at least see her son who was struggling with a life-threatening disease, submit to it in front of her, or do you feel bad for the son who had to also carry the weight of, was it something that hurt him that bad or catalyzed into something? You never know. I just hope that this industry, the film industry that we have, is a bit cruel in that manner. I just hope he has got two young sons and all. I hope they do well in life. We can only wish well for them now that they are the ones who are left. He, for the past 2 years, he was undergoing treatment in London, right? It would have been terribly costly. It's not something that ordinary souls can afford. I'm sure it must have, I hope there was someone to help him out. I remember when Manisha Koirala was also getting treated for cancer in US. The head of Sahara, Subroto Rai Sahara, the head of Sahara had sponsored all her treatment. I wonder if there's someone like that who has done for that. Again, as I said, when your star is in the ascendance, everyone will come down to you and bow down to you. But when it's not, it just goes for a toss. We are seeing that a lot of, even today in his death, all his directors who had worked with him came, not many people beyond that. So it was kind of that's how things are in the industry. There was a whole lot of obituaries which were being written, and I have this weird, I find it very weird that a lot of these stars, when they write their messages about Irfan Khan and all, reminiscences about, they are posting notes to him. I don't know why they use hashtags, or why they use the handles, right, Twitter handles. I fail to understand whether they are trying to express their emotions, or they are trying to trying to even publicize their thoughts, which is kind of I find it weird. When top stars, like, why do you need to, like, for instance, I'll give you an example of Amitabh Bachchan. He just writes his note, and he doesn't need to, he's not trying to, he's sharing his thought on Irfan Khan. He's not trying to be on the topmost listed guy on the Twitter handle. That's not an objective. I find it very weird. There are all those RIP message flooding in, and I just hope that he finally is able to rest. The only good part is that he'll be something we whenever we see one of his films, we'll always remember him for the great versatility of an actor that he was, or a versatile actor that he was. His versatility would be something that we'd be long time discussing. His persona, his voice, his deadpan looks, his drunken eyes, and so that is very interesting. So with that, on that sad kind of a note, I will take your leave for today. I guess that's more about it. I'll catch you again tomorrow. Till then, stay safe, stay inside. and don't forget to wash your hands. I'll see you again. Bye bye.